So we're really excited to invite you down to our space. And to just quickly introduce myself for those who don't know me, my name is Vanessa Lobo, and I'm the co-founder of Connect Marketing. And my business partner in the back there is Nick Niehaus. You probably met him when you were signing in this morning. He is the other co-founder of our marketing agency. So we're a startup marketing company that is based here in T-Rex. We've been in business for 4 years. And I'll just give you a brief introduction about us as we get started. So Nick is a St. Louis native. He born and raised here in St. Peter's, went to SLU High, and also to WashU, where he studied entrepreneurship. Since graduating from college, he's actually started 2 different businesses, this business and also a product he invented called the Case Coolie. So some other people who know Nick have heard about his invention, the Case Coolie, and it basically is a sleeve that fits around a case of beer and keeps it cold without ice for 10 hours. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, people love that, learning about his other product. I know, for tailgating, but it's pretty great. And then I am, again, Vanessa Lobo. I'm actually not a St. Louis native. I was born in Pakistan, immigrated to the U.S. when I was really young, lived in California, and then upstate New York for most of my life. And I moved over to St. Louis 5 years ago to join a nonprofit. And after working at that nonprofit, Nick and I went into business together. So my skills are in psychology and art, and I actually went back to school also for graphic design and website design a couple years ago. And so together with our combined experience with business, marketing, graphic design, and other types of direct marketing, we put together our marketing agency. And we'll be talking with you today about Facebook marketing, just one of the different services that we offer. Okay. So to just give you a quick agenda for our meeting today, we're going to try to get through a lot because we really want you to leave today with actually a written out plan for your marketing strategy for 2018. But in order to get to that point, we first want to do a few other things. So first, give an overview of Facebook and how to use the platform, specifically how you can organically post on Facebook and get results from that. Then Nick will be talking about how to create video for Facebook, and I'll explain in a bit why video right now is so important for any type of Facebook marketing strategy for 2018. And then lastly, we'll be getting into the 3 Facebook ad strategies that generate leads. So these are really just easy ad strategies that you can leave today and put up and hopefully generate some leads for your real estate business. And then, like I said, the last part of our workshop today is to actually create a written plan. So you all have handouts in front of you. The first part of the handout, you can take some notes on the meeting, and we'll be getting into the actual planning section at the very end of the meeting. We're trying to leave about 20-25 minutes for you to actually write out your marketing plan. And then if we get done with everything on time, and we also do a really great job teaching you about Facebook marketing today, do I have your permission to spend about 5 minutes at the end talking about a new offer we have? Would that be all right with you guys? Okay, great. So we'll just keep it mostly educational, and at the very end, we just want to tell you about a brand new offer. And that's the plan for today. And then please stick around for some open networking. We also have another event out here called 1 Million Cups in T-Rex that will be going on as our presentation ends. So feel free to join that too. Okay. So our whole workshop today is about Facebook marketing. And so to just start at the basics here, why Facebook matters so much for small business. A lot of you understand how big the social media platform is, but just to put it in perspective, this is Facebook compared to all the other social media platforms in terms of monthly users. And what this really shows us is that by far Facebook is dominating the social media marketing game. For any small business, you really need to be on Facebook because it has such a wide audience, and it really just trumps all these other types of platforms. The second one on here, Instagram, with a monthly average users of about 750 million per month, is actually also owned by Facebook. So that really just tells you what a dominant player Facebook really is in marketing right now. And to give you a little bit more insight about the breakdown of Facebook's audience, we have about 2 billion monthly users worldwide that are using Facebook. In the US, that is 75% of men who use the internet. So 75% of men who are internet users and are familiar with digital technology are on Facebook. 83% of women are also on Facebook who use the internet. And when it comes to the breakdown of ages, we really see all different types of age groups here on Facebook. So for instance, some people will ask us, oh, I tend to work with an older type of audience, like maybe you some of your clients are empty nesters and they're older people who want to move to a new residence. Well, we have 62% of people who are 65 and up actually on Facebook. So that is a pretty big audience even in some of your elderly age groups. And it really just spans across all types of ages, genders, interest levels, etc. So the average user is also spending about 20 minutes on Facebook a day, which means that that's a lot of time that you as a business have to get in front of them. And as we know, a lot of people are also spending more than just 20 minutes a day. So how many people in here are spending, let's say, an hour on Facebook? Yeah, or even more? Exactly, especially for a business owner. We spend a lot of time on there. So that's just a few statistics to give you an overview of what Facebook looks like. And let's get into the new trends that are coming up with Facebook. So a lot of people know where Facebook is right now, and all those stats show you how popular it is right now, but this is where Facebook is heading. So they actually recently announced, Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, recently announced that they are moving into the TV streaming, episode streaming industry. So basically, they're going to become like YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, all these other platforms that do TV and network streaming. And what this means for a small business is that Facebook is really pushing video, because video is the big thing that people are consuming online right now. About a third of the time that people are spending online is actually watching video. And I don't know if a lot of you know this, but YouTube, which is owned by Google, has actually surpassed Google as the most popular, most used search engine, which basically means people are spending more time on YouTube, Google, looking up things than they are on Google. So Facebook is moving into this whole video production streaming service, and what that means is more eyeballs are going to be on Facebook. They're going to become the new TV, try to become the new Netflix and Hulu and all that. So as marketers look at that trend, we know that we have to create video for Facebook because people are going to be consuming that more, and also that there's just going to be more attention there. What that also means is that big advertisers, the people who are currently right now advertising on TV, like your Walmarts, Target, all those big companies out there, car companies advertising on TV, are going to also be shifting their ad dollars more and more over to Facebook because it is going to be a dominant player for that kind of industry. So for small businesses, again, right now it is really important to learn how to use Facebook marketing, learn how to make quality videos so that you can compete with those other companies as people start flooding that market and moving into Facebook video. Okay, the other big trend that a lot of you have already seen is that organic posting reach is decreasing further and further every year. So back when Facebook first started, you could post something and a lot of people would see your posts, whether it was on your business page or on your personal page. As of 2014, Facebook changed its algorithm. And since then, it's kind of complicated about why this happened, but I can talk to you individually about it if you'd like to learn why. But basically, since then, between 2 to 4% of your posts on your business page and even on your personal page will be shown to people on average. So basically, every time you're posting something, if you expect that, let's say you have 500 followers on your business page, if you expect all those 500 people to see it, that's not happening. Only 2 to 4% of people, when you post organically, are going to, on average, see that post, unless it is a very popular post. So there are a few exceptions. If a post goes viral and is liked and commented on and shared with a lot of people, then Facebook will show it to more people because they're really interested in showing things that actually engage people, but you're not getting very much done with just your organic posting. So that's why we'll only spend a little bit of time today talking about organic posting for that reason. And one of the big reasons Facebook is doing this is that they want you to pay to play, so to speak. So they have put a lot of time and effort into building this very robust advertising platform, and they want people to pay to show those posts to the right people instead of just posting it to their followers. And then, like I mentioned a couple times already, the one also very big exception to this rule about organic reach is video, because Facebook is just really promoting any type of video that you put out there. So whether you're doing live video or also uploading a video to Facebook, so there's a difference. I want to just step back a little bit between native video, which is uploaded to Facebook and posted to show to your followers, and also when you link to another video on YouTube, there is a difference there. Facebook will promote a video that is uploaded to Facebook, and it's called native video. They will show that way more than if you have a video on YouTube or Vimeo, some other platform, and then link to it. So it is really important to do either live video or to create videos and upload it to Facebook in order for it to be seen much. Okay. So the major takeaways we have from these new trends are that we as marketers need to do two things. One is be very selective and strategic about what we post on Facebook. So like I just talked about, your organic reach is not going that far unless you are very strategic with what you're posting. And so it's less about posting too much content all the time and more about quality content. Back a few years ago, it was about getting out, 5 posts a day, or making sure at least you have a lot of frequent content on your Facebook page. Now it's more about having quality content that you yourself create or that your followers are going to engage with. And that's really going to help you with your Facebook marketing game. And then secondly, video. And we're going to talk about that a lot today, but video is obviously the best way to have that kind of content that people are going to engage with. And that's because with video, it's a very visual type of content. People love to watch someone, learn about their personality through video. It's the closest we can get to actually mimicking a relationship with someone that we've never met, someone who's looking at us through the internet portal. So video is a lot more than just posting a picture or some text, and Nick will talk a little bit about that further. Okay. So getting into organic posting on Facebook, you obviously do need to still post organically on your Facebook business page and also on your personal page. So we'll give you a couple tips here, and this will help when we get into the marketing plan a little bit later in the session. The first thing I want to mention is that it really is important for every real estate business to have a business profile and actually post all their Facebook content on their business profile first. If you also want to reshare it on your personal profile, that's great too. But there's a few reasons why you should really focus on doing everything through your Facebook business profile. The first being that Facebook, this is actually not well known, but they actually have a rule that you're not supposed to advertise your business heavily on your personal profile. And while a lot of people break that rule and are always advertising about their business and posting content about it on their personal profile, Facebook has on occasion shut down personal pages because people have violated that rule. So I know no one in this room wants that to happen, because what you lose is all your all the people you've connected to on Facebook, all your past data, your photos. They can literally shut down your personal profile. So really try to keep it to your business page in order to avoid that happening. The bigger benefits of actually having a business profile is you get all these other great things. So for instance, when you have a business profile on Facebook, you have access to a lot of data about the things that you're posting. So for instance, audience insights. That tells you, let's say again, you have 500 people who follow your business page. It'll tell you who those people are, what their age breakdown is, income level, what area of St. Louis or of the US they live in, what their interests are. You can gather all types of data about the actual people who follow your page. You can also get information about what types of content people are looking at and engaging with. So if you're trying to make decisions about are people interested in one event versus another, or if they like a certain post but not another, you can look at these insights to figure out what are the most popular and most successful posts, basically. And then lastly, it's really important to have a business profile because it does keep your own personal beliefs, whether it's religious or political beliefs, separate from your business. And that we all know that's important because we don't want to offend anyone and turn away business because you say something and someone takes it the wrong way. So really try to keep all those personal beliefs on your personal page, keep your business stuff on your business page. Of course, feel free to reshare things from your business page to your personal page, but that, if you do it that way, you will be able to still see all the insights about what each post is doing, what the reach is, and the success of all your Facebook posting. Make sense so far? Okay, great. Okay, so when it comes to type of content to actually post on your Facebook business page, I think a lot of businesses are probably guilty of this, because I know even we were at the very beginning of posting way too much about themselves and being very promotional through their business page all the time. Now, we have to remember that Facebook is ultimately a social media platform, so people are on there to connect with people socially, learn new things, and also just have a good time. So if we as business owners are just posting all the time about our business, not a lot of people are going to want to pay attention, especially because the people you want to be following your page and paying attention to you, they might not be looking for a house right now, but in 3 years they might be looking for a house, and you want to keep them as a fan of your page. Or they might have a friend or family member that wants to purchase or sell a house soon, and you want them to also pay attention to you. So while you want them to know that you're a real estate agent, most importantly, you want them to just know that you are there and exist, and you want them to engage with you. So the way to do that is to actually have a mixture of content on your business page, not just promotional posts, but also other engaging content that will keep them following you and actually paying attention to you. And of course, you'll always sprinkle in that you're an agent and that you have all this knowledge, but to not just always make it about real estate. So we see this all the time with agents. They're just posting about their listings or about their open houses or something like that. And so we came up with 5 different categories to help you out. And if you do a mixture of these different types of posts, you really will engage people, but also still show your expertise. So the first category is definitely your promotional posts, and we gave some ideas here. These are the ones that generate leads or interest. A really great one to do is a testimonial video with a client. And the reason for that is if you do a video, well, first of all, we've been talking about video a lot. Those are great. Secondly, if a client is vouching for you, that means a lot more than if you are just talking about yourself. So try to sit down with your clients whenever you have a closing or you're giving them the keys to their new house, get a quick video from them with just your smartphone, put it up there, or even ask them for a written testimonial if they'll do that. Listings and your real estate stats, those are also really great things to post. The second category here is expert posts. So these are the types of posts that are related to real estate, but really just position you as an expert and an educator instead of you talking about your personal business and all your stats, basically your success. So for instance, giving people how-to content, making a video like what documents you need to gather and bring to the bank in order to get pre-approved for a loan, or 5 things you can do to get your house ready to list, or tell people about some municipality differences between different municipalities when it comes to finding a house and property taxes, whatever it may be. But really try to make it educational and share even local real estate news. Okay, the next few categories, the next one I want to talk about is personal posts. So don't be afraid to post about yourself and your personal interests on your Facebook business page, as long as, of course, you keep it PC like we talked about before. Leave out the political and religious and all that kind of beliefs. But tell people a little bit about your family and about your interests, because you might be able to connect with people through some of that personal information. We have to remember that business is ultimately about relationships, and sometimes most of your clients that come to you like you not because of your real estate knowledge, although they obviously appreciate that you have that, but because you have similar interests to them. Maybe you go to you're in the same fishing club or something like that. So to tell them a little bit about your interests or bond with them on these other types of things is really great. So it can be really easy when you're at your kid's soccer game, take a video, do a post or picture about that, tell people about your hobbies, have some jokes, post it on there if that's your thing. So don't be afraid to make it a little bit personal. Local content, this is always a really easy and great one to do because it shows that you're an expert in the local community. So going on sites like Explore St. Louis or some of the municipality websites and finding very localized content is a very easy thing to do. Let's say you have even a specialty area, like you do a lot of your transactions in Chesterfield. Go and find 5 to 10 events just happening in Chesterfield, and if a lot of your audience already lives in that area, they're really going to appreciate that you're giving them a list of all the events coming up in November for that specific area. And then lastly, referral partner content. This is where you can pull from some of your other connections, like your loan officer friends, insurance agents, other types of professionals, contractors, for instance, and either do videos with them or get some insights from them that you can share on Facebook. Because again, you're trying to appeal to homeowners in general or people who are looking to eventually buy or sell a home. They have a lot of different interests and different categories and need advice. And as a real estate agent, you really have the power, since you are bringing people in and out of communities, to make those connections for them and help them with more than just buying and selling a home, to actually help them with other home-related needs. So do interviews with some of these other referral partners or promote their business, and those homeowners will really appreciate that extra knowledge you have. All right, when it comes to actually posting on Facebook, now we've tried a lot of different tools over the years, from Buffer to Hootsuite and Social Report. These are all different kind of platforms that you can use to schedule your posts for Facebook. But even us, we've just found that as these Facebook trends are also changing, we see that it's less about finding other content online and sharing it on your Facebook page. That doesn't do as much for you anymore as creating your own content and obviously sharing it. So I just wanted to go through a quick demo here on how to schedule a post. How many of you already are going into the Facebook platform and scheduling posts for days out? Anyone in here? Okay, so we have one person. All right, so this is a really easy way when you find a good article online and you want to save it and share it, but maybe you're looking at it at 1 a.m. in the morning and you don't want to share it right then because who's going to be really looking at it? So this is a really easy thing to do. This is through your mobile phone, since I know a lot of you are using your phones. What you do is you go to your Facebook business page, you type in here and write something, what your post is going to be, and you can even link some video and photos and everything you need for your post. Then when you hit the continue button on mobile, Facebook will automatically bring up this feature right here, and it asks you, when will this be published? So you just go ahead and click that arrow here, and you guys can even try to do this on your phone right now as we go through this quick demo. And as you do that, this screen pulls up where you are actually able to choose a different day, a different time to post your Facebook content. So sometimes what we'll do is, we're all guilty of spending hours on the internet just looking up random articles. You don't want to post all your content at once. So I will literally save that article, then just write out each post and schedule it for a different day in the week. Or if you're making a video or taking a picture, again, at your kid's soccer game or at some other event, you can do the same thing there too, and just schedule it for a later time. So we can tell you a little bit more about this later. I want to keep moving on because we have a lot more to cover. But that's a really great way to schedule your posts. But really just get into the habit of either scheduling your post to be sent out later in the week or just posting it right then and there, because it really works just much better than relying on other tools to do that for you. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Nick, who's going to talk about creating engaging videos for Facebook marketing.
That is a really simple tip, is that if you're ever giving a presentation, just set up a camera and record yourself, even if you don't have a lapel microphone. It's probably the easiest video content you'll ever create, and people really like it because it makes you look cool because of the people listening to you in the video, right? So that's kind of nice. All right, so Who feels uncomfortable when they watch a video of themselves? Okay, so you all know what I'm going to feel like here in just a second, because that's what we're going to do, is watch a video of me.
Social media video is more important than ever. Unfortunately, as a lot of people start making their own videos, it's going to be harder and harder to stand out. A lot of videos look just like this. Someone simply holding their camera up, not concerned about the lighting or sound, and they're all right. But what if you could do this? Wow, it's pretty incredible what you can do with just a couple simple tools when you're making video. So 3 things we recommend. Number 1 is having a tripod. You can see that the camera is completely steady right now, and I'm getting a nice focus shot on my upper body and face. So a $25 or so investment at Best Buy, totally worth getting a tripod. It also means you can record by yourself, and you don't really need someone there to help you. That's pretty handy. Number 2, this little lapel microphone. What this does is allows me to capture my voice as close to my mouth as possible without requiring an external microphone someone has to hold. This is about a $20 investment on Amazon, totally worth it. You're going to get much better sound in your videos. And the third thing is a little more expensive, but it's definitely worth it. That's professional lighting. So you can see that I don't have the light shining down from above my head right now. I've actually turned off the overhead lights, and I just have our video lights set up right now. One on either side of the camera, set slightly behind the camera and a little bit above eye level. And I actually have a third light behind me, which you'll see in just a second. And that helps get rid of the shadows created by the front 2 lights. So it looks like there's no shadow cast behind me as a result of those. So that's a kind of a professional level tip. But you can tell that the quality of this video is much higher. And this is really going to help you stand out, especially on social media, and especially as more and more people are making videos with their phone. So again, remember, this is just on the same phone I was using at the beginning here. It just looks much better, sounds much better, and it's a much higher quality video. So let's show you the studio real quick. So you can see here in the studio, we have the tripod set up between both lights. Each light is set a couple feet to the side with a tripod, and slightly behind it. If you line up right here, you can see the tripod is very slightly behind the lights. You want the lights a little bit above eye level, but not shining down too much. And then behind us, you can see I have a third light, which is eliminating the shadows on this backdrop paper that we have basically taped to the wall. So you can see that this is a pretty easy setup. It's easy just to leave it in place and then use it when you need it. And you can even split the cost with some coworkers. So we highly recommend setting up a little studio in your office.
All right. Well, thanks for watching that. Hopefully that was a demonstration of what we're trying to go over today. So actually kind of want to go back to this. So if you look at this very first frame, this is actually me standing in the exact same spot with those 2 videos, right? So you can see that obviously the second one was totally different lighting. One thing that I can't stress enough is how weird it looks when you have a light shining directly down over your head and you get like the raccoon eyes and your face looks kind of weird in the shadows. It also makes all your wrinkles stand out, right? So you want to make sure that you have light shining towards your face as much as possible. And that was recorded on the same phone, same situation, same setting. The differences were the 3 things I talked about, obviously. So what makes a good video? So this is going to be a big section we talk about today, is trying to help you get better if you have already started, or just get started if you haven't, making your own video. I can't stress how important this is. Vanessa mentioned earlier in the presentation that there's a lot of money coming into Facebook for advertising over the next 2 years, but they've already maxed out how many spots they can sell, which means the only thing that can happen is those spots go up in price. That's all that can happen, right? So not to scare you, but the idea is you want to get on this as fast as you can. It's still affordable, but you want to do it before you run out of time and it ends up getting kind of expensive down the road. So what makes a good video and why this is so important is that if you're going to pay to show this to somebody, you want them to watch it as long as possible, and you want to make sure it's good content that they're going to want to share. So the kind of rules here, number 1 is proper lighting and also backdrop. I would say the lighting is the primary thing you want to think about there. So again, you don't necessarily need your own lights, but you want to make sure that whatever light you're using is shining towards the face of the person you're recording. So this is actually an example. We did an outdoor recording session about 3 weeks ago. You can see we don't have any lights set up, and that's because the sun was pretty much directly behind me. This was in the morning. This is about right around 9 o'clock. And so you can see the light is shining directly on Greg's face there. That's the setup that you're looking for. So even if you don't end up buying some professional photography or video lights, which you can get on Amazon for about 150 bucks, whatever light you're using, you want to make sure it's shining directly on the person's face. The second thing here is clear sound. So the reality is a lot of videos on Facebook play without sound. You've probably seen that as you're scrolling through, they'll automatically play. However, Facebook is basically trying to shift our behavior slowly over time, and so more and more people are listening, are actually watching those videos with the sound on now, and that number is going to continue going up. So you do want to make sure that the sound is as clear as possible, and that's why we generally use a lapel microphone when we're recording. You can also get what's called a shotgun microphone. That's the kind of thing you would hold above somebody's head. It's even a little bit better of sound, but they cost like $200 and up, and then you need another person to hold the stand, right? So we generally like to use the lapel microphone. It makes it really easy to get started. And then the last thing is just making sure it's good content. So one thing I have noticed is that the first time somebody records a video, they're really tempted to just make the video all about their business, right? So I'm this agent, and this is what I do, and this is why I'm so great. There's nothing wrong with that video, but you want to make sure you go beyond that. So even if that's the first one you record, I'll give you a quick example. When we were recording with Greg the other day, he had all this stuff kind of planned out. And at the end, I was like, hey, you like to ride your bike, right? So what are some of your favorite biking trails in St. Louis? And he just started spurting off a couple different trails, and he was all excited, and he's more animated. And it actually probably was the best video we recorded that day. It wasn't scripted, there's nothing phony at all about it. But it actually worked out really well. So Vanessa gave you some ideas for content. We're going to be circling back around that to the end at the end of the presentation. But just keep that in mind. You want to remember the audience. You don't want to think about what you want to put on a video. You want to think about what they want to watch. So if you don't think they want to watch you talk for 10 minutes about your business, then that's probably not where you should start with the video, right? All right, so getting into some more specifics on the video. So getting into the lighting, all right? So you can see the difference between these two shots here. Obviously, same guy, same shirt. The one is in their little studio. We use, this is from a website called Wistia. So I'd actually write that down. Wistia has some of the best tutorials we've ever found. They're very entertaining, interesting videos on how to make Wistia. Wistia. Yep. And what they recommended is getting the Savage Thunder gray seamless paper. So he's just got a piece of paper behind him. That's exactly the same stuff we have in our studio. Obviously, gray is a very simple, clean backdrop. So it means that whatever is, whoever's standing in front of it is really the highlight of that video. So that's the nice thing about having a clear backdrop. In some cases, you're going to want to have a more interesting backdrop. So you can do The Office. We sometimes will come up here, you've maybe seen videos. We recorded a promotional video for this, just standing out there by the bar with the classroom in the background, right? So context can be useful there. As often as possible, you want to use natural light. So sunlight is what's called, full spectrum light, right? That means that it has all the different colors in it. So it comes across as kind of the cleanest looking light. The light bulbs that I bought for our studio are the same kind of light, right? So that's what I would recommend. So you don't want to use, a lot of times this artificial light kind of makes you look a little different. So you want to use natural light as much as possible. And I cannot stress enough how much you don't want to do the light coming straight down above your head, right? So I've had certain videos we recorded where I went back and looked at it. It's like you can't hardly even see the person's face, or it looks like half their face is missing because the shadows are weird. So as often as possible, getting that light directly at you. And what he did in the studio there is the same setup we have, which is two lights, probably about 6 or so feet apart from each other. And then you're standing about 3 or 4 feet back from those lights. That's going to give you a nice balanced appearance. And then the last point on here is choosing your environment based on the message. So in that previous picture, you can see we were up on the top of a building. We had the City Museum in the background. Greg specializes in selling condo spaces and high-rise buildings down in St. Louis. So it makes sense to record a video up on the top of one of those buildings, right? So if you're going to be talking about, downtown Kirkwood, you might want to go down and set up a little camera and record your video there, right? Now, if you really want to get fancy, you can set up a green screen. We don't really mess with green screens, but you could put up a green screen and get a picture of Kirkwood and do it all that way. I would just do it for real if you can. And then you also just want to make sure there's not a ton of distractions in whatever's in the background. So if you are filming it on site, make sure there's not a ton of kids running around or a ton of cars going through. A little bit of that is okay, but if it's too much, it distracts the person from the point of the video, obviously. Next is sound. So right off the bat, the easiest thing to do is just to buy one of these little microphones. They're called lapel mics or a lavalier, if this is the technical name, but if you look up lapel microphone on Amazon, you'll find them on there. Probably $15 is about all you're going to spend, and that will go a long way towards making your videos better. You could already hear the sound difference, and the speakers in here really suck, so the video, it probably wasn't as obvious, but you can hear the sound difference between just recording it directly into your phone versus this. And then imagine if the camera's even a couple more feet away. So if you have it on a tripod and you're just speaking to the camera, it's not going to pick up the sound as well. Do you have a question? Yeah.
So they connect like via Bluetooth?
Good question. So there may be some that work that way. Generally, we plug it straight into the phone. So what I'm doing right now is I have a voice recorder app on this phone in my pocket, and I'm recording my voice separately, and we're going to have to splice them together on some software later, right? So if you're this far away from the camera, you obviously don't want a cord running across the room. But when I'm in the studio, a lot of that is within 3 or 4 feet of the camera. So I literally just plug it straight into the camera that way, right? So that way it's already synced up. Yep. There might be some Bluetooth ones, but I always try to avoid any sort of wireless connection just because it can cut out, right? So if you have any interference, there's always a chance of something going wrong there. So ever since we've gotten the lapel microphone, the sound has always been great. And then you can go further and, like I said, get that shotgun mic, but I wouldn't start there. You obviously want to start as easy as possible. Number 2, making sure you're in a noise-free environment. That might seem really obvious, but every little noise will get picked up by one of these mics. Now, if it's not, obviously my voice is the loudest thing it's going to pick up, but it can hear sounds in the background. It's not a directional microphone at all. So make sure that you're in somewhere that's relatively quiet. So if you can get a separate office or something, we actually have ours set up down in the basement. Somebody will walk by every now and then, but that's about the only sound that we get down there. And the last thing is to add subtitles or captions, especially if you're putting it on Facebook. So this is something Facebook will do automatically for you when you upload your video if it's natively uploaded, meaning you uploaded it directly to Facebook. They have an automated feature where it'll go through and it'll try to listen to you, and it'll kind of get your captions right, but it'll usually mess up several words. So I've seen people that just do the automatic one and then they put it up, and I'm like, those are not what they're saying. So make sure you make some edits to it. Just kind of listen through, make sure you tweak it a little bit if there's any errors, but it will do that automatically for you. So again, the main reason that that's important is that it is going to autoplay without sound, and although more people are listening to it with sound over and over, you're going to want to have those subtitles until 100% of people listen to it with the sound on. Okay, so a couple tips on the content. We'll kind of blow through this pretty quickly. You want to focus on things like customer pain points or their interests. So again, this is, you're trying to make content for the people who are listening. You're not making content for yourself. So you want to make sure that you're addressing things that are in their minds, that are top of mind for them, and not focusing on just promoting yourself. And then, so pain points are good for things that are a little more promotional for your business, right? So if somebody is confused about, a few things to do to get their home ready to list, then maybe kind of make a video about that. Interests are also good too, and when you talk about their interests, that's something that's more personal. So that's going to be a relationship building tool, right? So I'm really into soccer. So an example would be, I could have made a video about how sad and depressed I was when the U.S. didn't make the World Cup about a month ago, because it was a pretty big bummer. And that would be a great way to bond with any of our followers that also watch the game or are into soccer, right? So it's not going to always appeal to everyone. That's okay. So that's one of the things I think a lot of people have a fear around is, well, if I make this video about this specific topic, what if some of my followers don't like it? They're just not going to watch it. That's fine, right? But the people that do like it are going to learn about you, and they're going to get that much closer to you as a result. Keep it short. So videos, especially on Facebook, 1 minute is probably a good target to get started. Once someone has seen a few of your videos, you might be able to go a little bit longer, right? But initially, 1 minute or so is kind of my target, right? Because I think that a lot of people, if they see a video is 5 minutes long, they just don't even start it, right? So you don't want to scare them away. So 1 to 3 minutes is a good kind of general rule of thumb, but 1 is ideal. And then the last thing is to ask them to take an action at the end. So if there's a purpose to your video, you can ask them to do whatever action that is. So if you give them 3 tips on how to get their house ready to list, maybe the action is, hey, shoot me a message and I'll send you my 7 remaining tips. I didn't have time to talk about it today, right? If it's just a personal video, something that's just kind of interesting that you shared, maybe you want to ask them to comment on it. So again, back to that soccer example, I'd say, yeah, tell me what you thought about that. What should the U.S. team do now to fix things? Comment below. What that's going to do is increase the engagement you get, which means Facebook's going to show that video to more people for free. So a lot of what you're trying to do here is the more you can get people to interact with that post, the more people are going to see it on Facebook. And then The last one there, which is to just ask people to share the post. I mean, that's kind of the golden goose on Facebook, is if you can get people to share, it's going to do really well, right? That's asking a lot, right? I mean, people don't share a ton of stuff anymore. They only share it when they're really interested. But, if you ask them to do it, they're more likely to do it. So if you don't have anything else to ask for, a lot of times saying, hey, share this video with somebody that might find it useful or interesting is always a good go-to. Another thing is edit your videos. So at the very least, please cut out the part at the beginning where you hit the record button, right? Have you seen that, right? Like, oh, is it on? Okay, and then they start talking. You got to remember, the first 3 seconds of a video are what really grabs someone's attention, and if it's you going like this, looking into the camera, it's not that exciting, right? So you want to make sure you do a little bit of editing. If you can go beyond that, you're going to want to do things like add those subtitles. I like to add a little title at the beginning with my name, or if there's anything really important I highlight in the video, I like to highlight that with a subtitle. And then I also like to add music. Music helps people listen to it longer because there's an additional thing to kind of keep them interested. So where you can do that, you can do it on your phone. There's some basic apps. A lot of your times you record a video on your phone, you can do some editing right there. So at the very least, cut the beginning and end out of it. And if you want to go a little further, you can use your computer. So things like iMovie on Apple is a good way to do that. I use a program called Wondershare Filmora on my computer because I have a Windows computer. And that can be pretty handy for doing some editing on the videos. You can also do things like, crop it. You can add different scenes, stuff like that. When you get started, I wouldn't mess with that. I wouldn't try to make all these different scenes and be fancy with your video. Just do what's called talking head shots, which is just you kind of talking to the camera. But as you get into it, you can get a little more creative with your editing. Okay? And then, obviously, once you've recorded it, you want to export it. A couple formats that we recommend using are MP4 or MOV. Those are pretty universally accepted in terms of being able to upload those anywhere. A very important tip here is to export it in Square if possible. So the reason that that's so useful, number one, is that it works well on Instagram. Everything on Instagram is Square. So if you want to reuse that video, and if it's under a minute, it can be used on Instagram, you want to make sure it's Square. Beyond that, though, this is what it would look like on Facebook, right? So that's a normal video. This is a Square video. So although you can kind of film more in a typical 16:9 video, look at how much less space it takes up, especially on the phone. And people are using Facebook more and more on the phone, so you want to basically think in terms of the phone. You want to assume they're going to be watching on their phone. This takes up a lot more space. Same thing goes for pictures. So if you have a picture you want to put up, if you can make it a square, you're going to grab more real estate, and this actually results in more attention. So you're going to get more likes, more views, more shares if it takes up more space on their phone as they're scrolling through. So square video as often as possible. And then Vanessa already talked about native video, but these stats are pretty mind-blowing. It gets a native video, so a video that's actually uploaded to Facebook, gets 1,000% more shares. So 10 times as many shares as a video that's linked to. So if you've linked to a video, and I see this all the time, somebody puts up, oh, I made this new video, and it's on YouTube, and I have to leave to see it. And I always think about these numbers. So I'm like, man, you just really shot yourself in the foot for no reason. All you have to do is just upload it also to Facebook. So people also have a tendency, once they've uploaded a video, to lose it. So they uploaded it, and it's a month later, and I don't know where it is, right? That's why I just do it right off the bat. You can upload it. You don't even necessarily, I'm not going to get too much into this, but you don't have to post it. You can even upload it into the library on Facebook and share it later. But upload it directly whenever possible.
Question?
Yeah.
So Square, that's when you go into your camera on your iPhone, that's at the bottom. Is that what you're talking about?
So there's a couple ways to do it. One is you can record in Square video right off the bat, right? And if you have that feature, that's what I'd recommend doing.
Because I have to go to video to record, but in Square it's a picture.
Sure. So if you don't have the ability to do the Square video ahead of time, just record it normally and try to keep everything you want on camera within the middle 50% or so, and then you can edit it that way, right? So it's a little bit more advanced, but it's not all that hard to do. So I would just make sure you keep yourself centered.
You're not shooting it in Square, you're editing it in Square.
Correct, yeah. So whenever I shoot it, I just record it normally, and I just stand right in the center of the camera, and that allows me to turn it into a Square video later. Right, and it's not, you don't always have to do it if it's a challenge. I always say when you're getting started with new things, like especially making video, don't create roadblocks for yourself. So anything that's not absolutely essential to getting the video made and putting it up, just don't worry about it initially, right? And then later you can come by and then think about the square video and all that kind of stuff, right? So when you first start, get your first 3 to 5 videos produced and up on Facebook and see how they do and get used to it and get comfortable with it. And then you can start playing around with the subtitles and the square and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so that gets us through the little video section. We're going to do a really quick crash course on some advertising ideas. Before I do that, any last questions on the video section? Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I don't have a ton of time, and I know we kind of packed a lot into this presentation today, so we are recording it. Like I said, we will share that with you. I also have a 2.5-hour presentation I did at the St. Louis County Library a few months ago that is on how to do Facebook advertising. So it's all the step-by-step, how to actually go into the back end and pull up the audiences and all that. We can also share that with you. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to give you 3 general advertising approaches that you can use. What we're not going to do is teach you how to go in and actually set up the ads, because that usually takes a couple hours, right? So if you need that information, if you're not sure how to use the ads manager, just let me know after the presentation, and I'll make sure to send you a link of that presentation I did at the library. Okay. So what we have here is basically 3 types of ads that you can run on Facebook to generate leads for a real estate business, right? So the idea here is that there's 3 steps you go through when you design an ad, all right? The first is to choose your objective. So that's basically, what are you trying to accomplish with the ad? So are you trying to get people to like something, watch a video, click on a link, etc.? The second part is going to be creating your audience, and the exciting but also really kind of frustrating sometimes part of Facebook is that you can target a lot of different things, right? So how many of you, by the way, saw a video of me promoting this event on Facebook? I know a few of you saw that. Okay. So when we set that up, we were able to do things like targeting the job type someone has, the employer that they're working for. You can target how much income they make, what kind of house they live in, what kind of car they drive, all kinds of stuff, right? So it's exciting because there's lots of ways to target, but it's frustrating because there's so many ways to target, right? So it can be really overwhelming, and you have to test things. So that's the number one takeaway there, is remember, you want to test things. So even if you think you created the smartest audience targeting, you got all the things right, test it, try different audiences, see which works best, right? But you can target demographic and psychographic information, and there is a lot of data out there on everybody on Facebook. And then the last step is to design the ad, which is the part that's actually going to show to people. So it can be a video, an image, carousel, there's lead forms, there's canvas ads. Again, we're not going through all that today, but there's a lot of options. The main one we're focusing on today is video ads. So what we're trying to do is, and you can do a video ad, but also have a different objective. It could be link clicks, but then it's a video type, not to confuse everybody. But so there's lots of steps there, and I'll share that presentation with you later. So here's the 3 strategies that we came up with. So the idea here is that this one in particular is a very short-term strategy. So what we specialize in at Connect Marketing is helping people build their brand and build their reputation in certain areas. So we do use these kinds of ads. But this one is a little bit more kind of straight to the point. This is basically, hey, I know that there's people who are likely to move. I'm going to put an ad in front of them that helps them with that process and see if I can get their contact information. And then I'm going to reach out and start trying to work with them, right? So this first example is to create some sort of downloadable content for buyers. So does anybody know why it's important that it's downloadable? Any guesses? As opposed to like a blog post?
They can leave their information.
Exactly, right? So we can get their information in order for them to get our content, right? If you just make a blog post, somebody can just simply go to that blog post and read it. Now, you can't necessarily keep them from then sharing that thing they downloaded with their friend, but that's okay, because that's good for your business anyway, right? So the idea here is to create usually a PDF. So a PDF is something that they can download. You can email it to them later. So you're going to create a PDF, and in this example, what we would suggest doing is find a loan officer, mortgage officer that you like working with, and get them to come up with a checklist of what they would need to bring to them to become pre-approved for a loan. So you're all probably familiar with what those documents are, but this way you get them to pay for half your ads, right? So you get them to work with you and figure out what those things are. 1 to 2 page PDF. It doesn't have to be complicated as long as it's real and it's accurate and it's helpful. That's all that matters. So we're going to put that PDF together. We're going to create a target audience that's going to be based on things like people who are likely to move, people that are newlyweds or that are newly engaged. And that would be maybe 3 different audiences to test. You can also control where they are. So you can say everybody in the greater St. Louis area. I recommend usually being a little more specific and targeting zip codes, but you can do that as well. And you're going to want to look for those people that are in those life events. And then I like to do a video ad, make sure you have the subtitles, and then ask them to download the checklist at the end, right? One way that you can do this that's really popular, that works really well, is to create a video that gives them maybe the first 2 things on that checklist, and then ask them to download the rest, right? So you've already given them some free value. They're already interested. They go, oh, okay, this person really knows what they're talking about. Now they can go download your checklist, and now you have their contact information. So the one thing I will say about these kinds of ads, a lot of real estate agents are already doing them. So, and that's fine. It just means that people are seeing multiple of these kinds of ads. So it is all in the follow-up, right? So one of the reasons that we at Connect like to focus on more of the brand building side of things is that if you really build your brand and you build a relationship with people and then you show them an ad like this, they see you as distinctly different from the other real estate agents that are showing them these ads. So that's why I say these are kind of the low-hanging fruit, the easier things to do, and they do generate a lot of leads, and they are really affordable leads too, especially compared to Zillow. However, you got to work the leads if you do this, right? So make sure you have it set up to start automatically emailing them, or make sure that you call them as soon as they register with you, and start that process of converting them. Vanessa, how are we doing on time?
It's 9:07.
Okay, we're good.
Yep.
Or actually, we got to speed up. Okay, number 2 is a downloadable for sellers. So the first one was to get buyer leads. This would be to get seller leads. Same sort of idea. You want to create a PDF. What you're doing in this case is creating a PDF that's specific to a certain area. So maybe let's say you're working and you like to work in Kirkwood. So write down some local resources, recommendations for that area, housing prices, the stats for that market. Something that's a lot of detail about Kirkwood. Same thing, you want to create an audience, but this time you want to do something a little different. You could do likely to move or something like new moms. People that just had a kid are often in a position where they're likely to move and sell their home. So those would be good ones to target. And then the same thing here again, you want to create a video. Might want to be the same sort of idea where you give them a couple, hey, the prices are going up in Kirkwood. Here's how they've changed in the last year. By the way, go ahead and click the download to learn a whole bunch more about selling your home in Kirkwood, right? So keep the video simple. It doesn't need to be super long. 30 seconds is probably a good target for the video length on that. And then the last one is an event ad. So this one fits a little bit more with what we generally like to do, which is very relationship building oriented, helping people get a chance to get to know you. So it's a little bit more work, obviously, because you're planning an event, but come up with an event. To keep things easy, I recommend just make an event that's something you like to do already. So if you're into bowling, have a bowling night, right? If you like to go to the bar and have a few drinks, have a happy hour, right? Because it's going to be easy for you. You're going to have fun. That's half the battle. So just do something you're going to enjoy and then invite people to it that have a similar interest. And then you can do the targeting based on where they live, their location. You can adjust the radius of that as well, so you can get all the way down to a 1-mile radius if you want people in a really specific neighborhood. And then a video does well for that is, again, you can do a little 30-second little clip, kind of what we did to promote this today. All right, so I know we kind of blew through that. Obviously, I'll send you a copy of this presentation. What we're going to do now is get into the worksheet. I know everybody's been taking a ton of notes, but there are a couple, there's actually a calendar you see if you flip it open there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and try to start this. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to fill the whole thing out right now, so I'll let you take that home with you. But the idea is I want you to put in a couple ideas for each month on kinds of content that you can create. So one of the first things you have to do when you're starting in advertising on Facebook is create some content. Even if it's just a couple downloadables to give to people when they click on your ad, you got to make some sort of content. What we're going to try to do today is take about 15 minutes and come up with content per month, right? So the idea is what are some themes we can work with. So you have on the back page, I believe, so on the very back you have all the different categories and kind of general ideas we came up with. So what I'd like you to try to do today, and Vanessa and I will help you with this, is get specific on these. So an example would be if you're going to write down testimonial video, write down the name of the client, right? So you can actually start planning this out ahead of time. You can reach out to them and say, hey, sometime in January, can I come by and just get a little video with you? Or you can record it now. You don't have to wait until January. Same thing where if you're going to talk about, St. Louis housing market trends, maybe write down which area in particular you're going to talk about, because obviously those trends are different depending on the neighborhoods you're targeting. So what we're going to do now is, as we start to fill that out, I'm just going to ask everybody to kind of throw a few ideas out to the group, so maybe we can help each other a little bit. So looking at January, what are some ideas on content types you could create for January?
Year-end stats.
Okay, year-end stats, so that's a good one. Everybody just stole that in. That's okay. So your year-end stats. So what's a spin you could put on that make it a little more customized to you, do you think? I mean, you're already the stats guy, so that's kind of right in line with what you're already doing.
Yeah, but so for me, Chesterfield, I would talk about maybe the county and maybe talk about how Chesterfield's performing or something.
Okay, so being specific to Chesterfield. Okay, cool. So that's a good one for January. What else could we do in January? What are some other themes?
I was just thinking about, since I haven't done any video at all, doing some kind of an introduction with testimonials saying I'm going to be starting to give monthly talks or whatever on real estate, or weekly or whatever.
Sure.
And doing an introduction to who I am, and then throwing in a testimonial, and just so you can start expecting some real estate information from me on a weekly basis.
Great. Yeah, so just basically telling people what you're going to be doing, right? So, and I like the idea of also having a quick testimonial in there. Now, one thing I will say is, that can get long, right? That video can get long, so you may want to split that into 2 videos. But either way, that's a great place to start. And again, that's the key here, is that the first 1 or 2, 3, 4 videos you do, those need to be just really easy stuff, right? Don't try to hit a home run on your first video. That's something that helped me get started, is I just kind of set up a camera, I went in the studio, and I just started talking, and I had to come up with 1 or 2 videos from that, right? So that's a good place to start. What else might work in January?
Property tax information, implications of purchasing and selling in a particular area.
All right, perfect. So local property tax information.
Getting your house ready for spring market.
Okay. So getting your house ready for the spring market. How about things that are not real estate related, right? So we want to have some stuff on here that's a little more personal. What's something that people tend to get really interested in right around January 1st?
Vacation.
Vacation. All right. I like how you're thinking. Yeah. There you go. Diet and exercise, right? So that's one of the most popular things to talk about in January. Everybody thinks they're going to get in shape and lose some weight, right? So your New Year's resolutions, right? So fun, I like the videos about like how I already screwed up my New Year's resolution, right? It's January 3rd. Oh, I already messed that up, right? Because it shows you're human, and people like to laugh about that kind of stuff. So that's a kind of fun opportunity. So those are some ideas for January. Hopefully you have a couple that you've written down. And we're just going to go through, at least the first 4 or 5 months here and come up with a few more ideas until we run out of time. What about February? What's some good content for February? Yeah. Yep. So you got Valentine's Day, right? So what was your specific idea? Romantic getaways in St. Louis. Okay. So somebody that's going to do like a staycation type of thing, you can give them some ideas. Yeah. See, nobody knows what those are, so that's a great content idea. All right. What else? What else can we do in February?
Spring training.
You look like you have something. Spring training. Okay. Absolutely. Right. So then now we're getting into what are some of your interests, right? So if you're interested in baseball, and to be honest, that's kind of an easy one in St. Louis. Most people love the Cardinals, right? So anything about the Cardinals is usually very popular. Or the Cubs, okay, don't want to discriminate. There are a few Cubs fans in St. Louis. Apparently there's one here. Huh, okay. So that might not do as well, but the Cub fans in St. Louis will really appreciate it. You'll really connect with your audience. Yeah, but remember, you'll stand out. And that's actually, that brings up a good point here, which is, Vanessa mentioned you don't want to be controversial. You don't want to post about things that are really make people upset when you're doing this, but you can be a little bit controversial, right? So things like that are a great example where you're going to stir up conversation, right? So if you're a local Cubs fan and you post about it, people are going to comment back. It's going to be fun. It's usually playful. That's kind of stuff that's really good. So things that are a little bit controversial, that are going to get people to start a conversation are great content ideas, right? But mixing in things like politics and religion, not that you can't do it, it is up to you, but that can get a little bit more controversial, okay? Anything else? Maybe another real estate idea for February. Anything that kind of stands out about that month in the market? Yeah, you're still in the first quarter, right? So when does the market tend to start picking up? March, okay. So you might be getting people ready for that. So people are probably starting to think, well, I'm not quite ready to list because I know I'm not supposed to until March or whatever. But maybe talking about, hey, the few houses that did get listed just now sold crazy fast. Maybe it's a good time to get on that, right?
Contractor video about getting your house ready.
All right, perfect. Yeah. So something about getting your house updated for the spring, it could be spring cleaning, getting started with spring cleaning, right? And those are always great too, because if you can have somebody else make the content for you, that is great, right? So if you talk to one of your contractor referral partners and they're willing to do that, that's a great way to get some free content, something that you don't have to actually create yourself.
Maybe possibly a list of vendors that do spring cleaning or staging or getting your house ready.
Yeah, perfect, right? So just sharing so being that expert, with the connections. So I have lots of connections to different vendors that I can share with you, and here's a list of my favorite 5 or whatever you might want to do there. That can be a really good idea. So then moving into March, so we already mentioned March is when the market does start to pick up a little bit, so we can be a little more promotional, right? So we can post about the fact that that's happening. What else could we talk about in March? Spring cleaning again. Yeah, March Madness, okay. March Madness is pretty good. One thing I will mention when it comes to professional sports is you do have to be careful because you're not really allowed to use the terms and the logos for those things, right? Probably not a big deal when you're just local and only a few hundred people see your video, but when you say March Madness, I think that's actually trademarked. So if you're going to talk about it, sometimes you got to be a little bit careful about what you say, right? So just keep that in mind, that's fine. That's why anybody noticed when a lot of businesses talk about the Super Bowl, they call it the big game. They don't call it the Super Bowl. It's because the Super Bowl is trademarked and they're really strict about it. They will sue you if they catch you using it. NCAA is not as strict, but probably not worth messing with too much. But that is great to talk about. I mean, you can talk about the specific games, the specific teams, what happened, who you're rooting for. If you have a bracket, that's always a fun thing to talk about, right, is how you're doing in your bracket or if it's already busted, right? Any other ideas for March?
I think you can use March Mayhem. But
there you go, March Mayhem, okay.
You can also do a bracket.
Yeah, you can do your own. You can organize your own bracket, right? So maybe you have a prize or some sort of giveaway you want to do and have that for the bracket.
And going along with that, I was thinking, along the basketball theme, you could also talk about the schools locally that have really good sports teams, and which schools are known for that. I know you can't share too much information to sway people about what school district to go to, but even just giving rankings of, these are the schools that got to the state championships or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just being essentially a reporter, like a local reporter, right? I mean, and actually we are seeing that. You probably noticed that, traditional news and reporters and whatnot are having a harder time making enough money to support themselves, and that's actually kind of why, is because it's actually gotten a lot easier for us individually to report on things. So that's essentially what Twitter is, right? Is people reporting live from their location about what's going on. So that's one thing you can do, is just think of yourself as a local reporter, and that information is usually helpful to the people that live there. Okay, so moving on from March, let's think about April. So one of the more obnoxious things to do in April is April Fools, right? So you could do some sort of fun April Fool's joke. Somebody that works here once told me Mark Zuckerberg was coming in to speak. It turned out it was an April Fool's joke. Yeah, I don't ever get to live that one down. I went around and told a bunch of people, oh my gosh, Mark Zuckerberg's coming.
Where's all the Easter celebrations?
Okay, Easter, yep. So, I mean, you're getting a little bit into religion, but it's pretty secular, so that's probably a pretty safe one, right? Yeah, so you got to consider there are different religious holidays, right?
Maybe tips on getting your garden ready.
I like it. Okay, so gardening, that's a really big interest to a lot of people. You can also use this, think a little strategically about who are the types of audiences for that content, right? So the types of people that are going to have a garden, and think about what does that mean for where they live, what kind of house do they live in. You may want to cater that video towards people that have a big garden, because that means they probably have a bigger yard and therefore a bigger and more expensive house, right? So you can think about being a little more strategic there, but that's a great general topic, because a lot of people garden, right? And then you can flip that around. You can say, hey, what if I really want to sell condos in the city? Well, I'm going to teach people how to do a tower garden, right? So they can grow a lot of stuff in one small space.